This is First GenXers.
In basketball, sports talk, people are willfully ignorant. It makes you want to slap them across the face. Anyway, all right. So, welcome y'all to
Then it
this
makes
week's.
me want to slap day mama across the face. Fuck.
Uh, yeah, because here's what's funny, and this actually ties into a little bit of what I've been thinking about when it comes to, I've always heard the participation trophy argument. And at times, I've actually battled back against the participation trophy argument, saying, giving kids participation trophies wasn't that bad. I've since changed my mind since interacting with people in sports groups on Facebook. And not just sports groups, dealing with people in social media a lot. I think that this sense of entitlement that we're seeing in a lot of these younger kids nowadays
Mhm.
comes from participation trophies.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and here's where I don't disagree with participation trophies in t-ball.
Yeah, in
Okay,
T-ball.
anything
That yeah,
past t-ball,
yeah.
right? Once they start, kids actually start pitching the ball to each other, participation goes out the door. In
And
t-ball, absolutely, because that's really all you're doing is participating.
And I'm good with it at that level if the kids that win the championship actually get bigger trophies. I'm sorry to
Yes,
say it. The champion needs to be stood out. So give
yes,
the kids that win the bigger trophies. Everybody else gets the smaller trophies with whatever place their team finishes.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, like I was thinking about it, I was like, you combine participation trophies with a lot of these kids all their life being told that they're special, that they're unique, that they're snowflakes. Not snowflakes like they're
the
using now.
individual
Yeah,
snowflakes.
their
Yes.
individual and their individual beauty, which is great. Like you want to teach your kids these things. You definitely want them to have self-esteem. But I think that the generation of parents that which is Generation X that raised a lot of these youngsters that are out there right now, they did
Millennials. No, I blame that on
the
millennials.
millennials.
It's the
Okay,
millennials kids now.
yes,
Okay?
and
It's not our kids,
yeah,
it's the millennials
our kids
kids.
are the millennials, right?
Right.
But not like. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying anything against the younger generation. I'm just noticing that there is a general sense of entitlement.
But that also comes along with kids who never learned how to regulate their emotions
Yeah,
because their parents just stuck an electronic device in front of them.
right. Whatever it took
So
to
there's
shut
the
them up.
sense of entitlement and zero emotion regulation skills.
Yeah,
That
very
is
much.
a very bad combination.
Yeah. Like I just told my youngster the other day, I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, when I came home from school, I came home, I did my homework, I changed into my outside clothes, and I was gone till the sun went down. I was
Mhm.
like, I didn't really start spending a lot of time in my room till I was like late teens, early 20s. But prior to that, like I was gone most of the time. And
Well,
summer
and we
days, forget it.
we weren't we weren't stuck in the house playing video games the
Yeah.
way that they are now.
Well, I don't think it's that they're stuck anymore. I think it's what they
They
actually
want
prefer. Yeah, it's
yeah,
what they actually
okay,
prefer
yeah.
because there's no need to go outside because you can interact with your friend in the Call of Duty lobby and play Call of Duty with them online. I was joking with my daughter. I was like, yeah. I was like, do you realize? I was like, do you want to know what we had to do in order to be able to play video games together? And she was like, what?
Be
I
in
was,
the same room.
I was like, we had to go to each other's house or we had to meet up at the arcade. That was the only way
Mhm.
we got to play video games together. Other than that, you were playing video games at
We
home
had to be
alone.
plugged into the same damn game to be
Exactly.
able to
Like
play.
so all this online stuff, I'm not saying there's nothing bad about it. I like it myself. I play online with Suave all the time. But it's just a matter to me of like I think a lot of this has led to where we're at today. Where like you said, these kids
Yeah.
don't they want to lead a revolution, but they don't know how. And that's because, unfortunately, their parents didn't have to lead a revolution, so they don't know how. They need to talk to
Yeah.
their grandparents and so on and so forth, because there's definitely a
Us.
need for
Although
for a
we are
revolution.
grandparents these days, so
You
I need to
know,
really shut up.
oh my God. Oh, there was a girl that was on the Jubal show out here in Sac the other day, talking about she was 53 and had 10 children and 5 grandchildren. I said,
Jesus
woman, you are
Christ.
only 6 years older than me, and you had 10 children. Like, wow, like it's
Please tell
not
me some
bad.
of them were twins.
Please, or at least you had them all like in a 6 year period of time, 6 or 8 year
Right.
period of time or something. Where you just had them back to back to back to back to back. Because if there's like
She
4 or 5 years
probably had
gaps,
one or two super young, and there was probably a space and then a bunch more.
and then a bunch more, yeah, I can see that.
Was
I
she
can see that.
Mormon
I don't know. I did. She didn't mention
or
any of that.
Catholic?
So I don't know. She may have 9 baby daddies. She may have 2 baby daddies. She may have 1 baby daddy. Um, who knows? But anyway, yes. But needless to say, yeah, like I just think participation trophies did contribute to the entitlement that we see in a lot of these youngsters today, because they
Absolutely.
expect to be rewarded for anything and everything that they do, whether they put forth effort to do it or not. They expect to be told that they're awesome, and if you say anything bad about them, oh my God, the world has blown up.
They want a pat on the back for doing what
What
they
you're
should be
supposed to do.
doing.
I pay
Yeah.
my rent. Yeah, that's called being a grown ass adult. I pay my bills. Yeah, that kind of comes with the whole adult thing. Well, somebody
Yeah.
should
And
celebrate
guess
me.
what?
No.
Guess what? You know what your prize is for that? Not being homeless.
Having cable, being able to watch Netflix.
I mean,
Uh,
shit.
all right.
Like,
So let's jump into this basketball. As you can see right behind us, we're both Dubs fans, and they are
imagine
on a
that.
roll right now. We've been with them through thick and thin. We probably wouldn't be talking about them as much if they weren't on the run that they're on right now. But uh, we definitely got a lot to talk about. They just got done in a close battle, sweeping the Knicks in their season series, which is huge to me because everybody thinks that teams like the Lakers and OKC, which by the way, right before the All-Star break, I could have swore the Dubs, right before they traded for Jimmy Butler, they beat the OKC in OKC, but that's just me. But OKC and the Lakers
I
and
mean,
people,
I fairly recall the same thing.
yeah.
So, you know,
I'll say, that the teams like the Lakers and them that have big guys up front are just gonna run over the Warriors because they're just too small.
I
And
vaguely remember hearing the same argument in 2015.
yeah,
I fairly remember Chuck being forced to swallow his words on this very topic.
yep,
They're
and
too fucking small. Fuck you, because guess what? We won.
yep, and the Knicks and here was the thing with it. The first game there was a lot of talk of, well, they didn't have Carl Anthony Towns. They didn't have, well, this game they had Carl Anthony Towns. He actually had a pretty decent game too. I want to say he went for like 20 and 10, and they still
Until,
lost.
well, until he got
Did he get hurt
hurt.
again?
I think he did get hurt towards the end. And they sat him for a minute because he was in foul trouble hella early on. But I do think that he got hurt towards the end, but I could be remembering it wrong. Last night was kind of a blur.
Yeah. And Steph had himself a hell of a night. I want to say 28 and 5.
28.
Now we're gonna.
It first didn't seem to be doing a whole lot, but he had that third quarter where he really just came alive. So
And we needed him too because I believe we were down at half. So we
yeah,
needed that
we were tied, I think, at half or
at half.
up by one at half.
Yeah.
But
Oh no, it was
up until
56-54. Yeah, you're right. We were up
up
at half.
until the third quarter, quarter, fourth quarter, really, the biggest the lead was 6
Yep.
between either one. It was a good game.
Oh yeah, it was a hell of a game. Like I
It was
tuned
a
into
really
it
good game.
while I was doing my show KD5P. I tuned into it and I tapped in and I was, yeah. Like I said, it feels like These wins feel like those wins we were getting in 2015 when everybody kept thinking we were going to lose to certain teams and we just kept pulling out victories or we
Or
just
even in
plain blow them out.
2022.
Yeah. And like it feels like that. I'm not saying they're going to win an NBA championship. I can't go that bold like Draymond. But I think this is a team that people need to watch out for. Like this isn't just a team that's going to go away. And I'm not even talking about the fact that they got Jimmy Butler. I'm talking about the depth of the team. Like the starting lineup, that game was what? Steph, Moody, Jimmy, Post, who's been playing his ass off, and I believe Draymond.
And Moody is someone I honestly, and especially watching yesterday, I do not think that man gets the credit he deserves. I
You know,
really don't.
his contributions remind me of that of Sean Livingston. He
Yes.
he's not giving you like 25, 30 a night, but he can jump into that starting lineup and be productive for you. He can come off the bench and be productive for you. It doesn't matter. He's a
Sean
Swiss
Livingston,
Army knife.
Andre Iguodala,
Yes.
that's where, but they're also players who don't get the credit that
Hmm.
they deserve. But last night, he had a hell of a game.
Yep. And
And our
and
bench has been, that was the thing that they were talking about a lot last night is the Knicks had a few players that had big numbers,
mm,
right? And up until a certain point, we had a lot of players that had decent
right.
numbers. Our bench had decent numbers. Our starters had decent numbers. And then, Steph finally pulled away and had
Yeah.
more than decent numbers.
Numbers,
And
yeah. And
so
Draymond got him, hit him with the night night. That was great.
I loved that. That was awesome.
And you can tell when the Warriors are feeling themselves, and they're definitely feeling themselves right now, 100%. And
As they
well,
should be. They're 14-1 in games with Jimmy Butler
yeah,
since Jimmy Butler
got there.
came.
Yep, yep.
We're
He
14-2 altogether since Jimmy Butler came, but we're 14-1 in games with him.
And let's point out another important fact from that game. Jimmy Butler did not have that good of a game. I think he shot like 3 of 11 from the field. Like it just shows you how Butler being on the court opens up the game for a lot of the other players on the field on the court. Well, I'll say I was sitting here and looking at it, and like I said, we mentioned the starting lineup, but then the Warriors they have those five, and then coming off the bench they still have Kaminga, Peyton, fucking Buddy Hield, like
Buddy
and
Hield can go. I'm sorry.
yeah, you
He can
think
go.
so?
Yes.
I think that Buddy will end up hitting some clutch threes for us this postseason. I think that him coming off the bench is the best place for him to be because when he struggles, it's not affecting us that much as if it would if he was playing starter minutes. But when he's hot, because Buddy Hield has always been a streaky shooter, but when he's hot, he can be that spark off the bench that we need. And I haven't even mentioned Brandon Pominski, who's still coming back from a rib injury, I believe, and getting back there. So it's like, guys, this team is deep. And the one player I want to talk about is Quentin Post. Like I think the kid's only averaging 8 points a game or so, but he's hitting big threes. He's that stretch four the Warriors have always needed. I said it in an earlier episode, and he's playing his an ass off. And then once you get Trace Jackson Davis back in the lineup, like I think that or back in the rotation, I think that we're gonna see a lot of good things happen because we'll have some size. And that's going to bring me to a topic we're going to talk about a little bit later that I'll mention right now, and that was somebody challenged with what about how the other players that got drafted around Bronny James are doing, and also what about the players that got drafted at his position or at his around his pick in previous drafts? How are they doing? And I've got two examples, both on the Warriors, that to shut down that argument. But we'll get to that towards the end of the show.
Oh, you
Uh,
mean the argument that nobody should be talking about a 50-something draft pick?
yeah,
It's
or
funny
that.
because my dude and I had this conversation the other day
Uh,
where it also calls bullshit on that argument.
yes, yes. Like, well, yeah, we'll have that discussion on the back end. All right. So yeah. So Dubs keep going. Lakers seem to be falling. They've lost like 3 out of 4. They beat the Suns today, but who hasn't beaten the Suns this year? Well, I'll say they beat the Suns today with just Luka, but I think LeBron may be back next week, or he might be out for another week. I hope so because, like she said, we're only 2.5 games behind the Lakers. So if we can pass them and keep going, let's roll. I'll take that Memphis matchup in the first round for sure. All right, so we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little football free agent frenzy.
Bro, your team can't decide what the fuck it's doing with its players.
We're going to talk about that, too.
Whatever the hell his name is, here you go. Oh, wait a sec, come back.
We're going to talk about
Y'all
that, too. I've been thinking about
right
that.
now.
Yeah, yes, I was telling this to Swab. Yes and no. Yes and no. We're nowhere near as good as we were 3 years ago. But I don't think we're as much of a hot mess as everybody thinks. It all depends on what we do with the draft. But anyway, we'll get to that.
You're in a rebuild, and I don't think you want to admit it.
I don't think because in a rebuild would be if we traded Purdy, Ayuk, and McCaffrey away. Like, yes, we're not we're not as sure of a Super Bowl contender anymore, but we haven't taken far of a step back from where we were.
So you're just shy of a full rebuild, but you're a full-on remodel with just with the front room down to its studs so that you don't have to pay the extra pricing of a full-on new build. But you're up there. I
think that's an appropriate term to use. They're in a remodel. I don't think it's a rebuild because they haven't torn everything down and they're not starting over from scratch. Like, they still have their starting quarterback of the future. They still have McCaffrey, and this is a deep running. Well, we'll get into it after the break. You guys are listening to The Classroom right here on twitch.com or twitch.tv/FirstGenXers or on YouTube. Keep following me. Keep following us, and we'll see you after the break. Peace.
This is now versus then. This is now versus then. Get on your mark, let's go. This is now versus then. Burning up your radio, still turning up the heat with Poetic on the flow. Got you moving to the beats with the Saint as your host. Shout out the collective, hold it down, we gon' clown, that's the lesson. Where Generation X meets Generation Next, with them bangers from the east to the south to the west. Yeah, this how we do it in Sacktown. Slide to the studio, yup, it goes down. Everybody fall through, these beats gon' pound. Waking the game up, told you it goes down. And this is only the intro. Turn the mics on, shout out to my kinfolk. Where you at, y'all? Let's get this started. Turn down for what we about to start the party. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. This is now versus then. This is now versus then. This is now versus then. This is now versus then.
You got to keep it. You got to keep it lovely. You got to keep it. You got to keep it lovely. Success comes right after the struggle. I ain't even giving up on whatever I wanted. The tragedies I've seen, I can't even stomach. Most of y'all weak as shit and would've started running. Every time I make it back to the crib, I'm thankful the Most High let me see all of it. Grateful I'm lovely, and I'm being real with this. Please don't judge me, I'ma stay on my shit. I'ma keep a grind mode button, push it, make it do something. No balls for me, cause I'm a loose cannon. I get to choose, camera switch it up, look up a new banner. Keep smoking on that bama.
They say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But the definition of beauty is distorted. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, y'all out there in TV land or Twitch land or whatever we're doing today? My name is Dark Lord 100, aka Double KK Double. I am the host of the Cheap Pop Podcast and the Classroom, as well as your favorite music show, KD5P. I'm here to tell you about the Live 365 lineup that we have coming up starting on February 3rd, Monday, February 3rd. We'll open up Mondays through Fridays with Now versus Then, Deuce, classic episode from the Blog Talk Radio days. We follow that up with an FU Wrestling podcast from Spreaker, starring myself, Double K, and your boy Cole. We follow that up with, again, me, Double K's Classroom, old sports show I used to do, 30 minutes from 6:20 to 6:50. We follow that up with West Coast Bias, myself, OMalley, Duel, and Suave, bringing you sports talk from a few years back. Then we have Now versus Then. That's the centerpiece of our day at 9:35 a.m. with a classic episode of Now versus Then. And every Wednesday at 9:35, you'll get a new episode of Now versus Then, Deuce from Twitch. At 12:45, you'll hear an episode of KD5P, K-Double's Fifth Period music class that you can hear right here on Live 365 every Saturday night. You can hear a replay of it every Tuesday night at 12, or Tuesday afternoon at 12:45. You can also listen to at 3:20 the Cheap Pop Podcast, followed by NBT Deuce at 5:30. Great episodes. Probably the same episode from the morning. Lip Gloss and Mics has now moved to the 9:05 slot with a new episode of The Classroom on every Friday. And then we close out our night down and dirty with the Kings and Queens of Porn. That'll be every Monday through Friday right here on Live 365. Catch us at live365.com/First GenXers, or you can go to the Live 365 app, look for the First GenXers Radio Network, and that's where you'll find us. All this and more right here on Live 365. Peace. All right, and it's Double K back with you again, host of the Cheap Pop Podcast in the Classroom, also your favorite music show, KD5P, and I'm here to talk to you about the Saturday and Sunday lineup. Last video we did Monday through Friday. This week we're going to do Saturday and Sunday. All these shows will be airing on Saturday and Sunday concurrently till about mid-afternoon, and then we go into two different lineups. On Saturday, Sunday mornings at 12:30 a.m., you get a classic episode of Brick House 2.0. Followed up by Lovely Radio, which is back on the air with First GenXers. And we have Mr. Deacon at 5:15 a.m. Sam Brett Radio now moves up from the 10 a.m. slot to 7:25 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. And the 10 o'clock slot now goes to Ms. Optimism, back with us again after a short hiatus. We follow that up with another episode of Lovely Radio at 12:10. And then we get Sam Brett one more time at 2:45. You get about an hour and 15-minute episode on Sundays, and you get a full 2-hour episode on Saturdays. That episode will air right before the live episode of K-Double's Fifth Period music class on Saturday nights from 5 to 8. Right here live on Live 365, where K-Double brings you some of the hottest tunes from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And then we close out Saturday nights with the Worldwide Wrestling Podcast from 8:15 to 11. So on Sundays, you go from Sam Brett to 410 The Classroom. 45-minute episode of an old version of The Classroom that we had over on Spreaker. And we'll follow that up with Dirty Talk 101 at 5:30. And we close out with 740 The Worldwide Wrestling Podcast, another great edition of me and your boy Cole. And then we close out at 10 p.m. with the sidebar. So thank you for listening or seeing me here on Twitch if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube. And join us on any one of our platforms here at First GenXers and Double KK Double Network. You got 2KK2network.com, my website. You also have the twitch.tv/First GenXers, and you also have Live 365 where you can find us or you're listening to us here. And we also have for those podcast folks over on Spreaker, a place where you can find the Cheap Pop Podcast and the Classroom on podcast. You can download it and everything. So that's it from me for this week. This time around, I'll be back again with a new schedule as of May 1st. But until then, y'all enjoy this lineup and stay up. Peace.
Or how bad Jimmy was.
See, I don't think Jimmy was that bad. I think Jimmy, just like Brock Purdy, was just a perfect marriage for Shanahan's system. But I think Brock's a little bit different. Brock seems to have a little bit higher of an IQ than what Jimmy had. No offense to Jimmy.
And his head and his concentration are in the right place. Yeah. I think that's always been part of Jimmy's problem. Is that I don't think his head has always been where it should. He's not always been, well, okay, that feels a little weird to say, right? But he hasn't always been as focused on football as he should have. He reminds me a lot of Matt Leinart, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
In all of their off-field female shenanigans. And I am not knocking it, okay? I don't care. Date a porn star, date some sorority girls. I don't care. I really, really don't care. But it's when that stuff starts affecting your job that it becomes an issue. When you become more known for that than what you're doing on the field, it's an issue.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But also when it comes to Jimmy, what's funny is this Jimmy sucks narrative that was out there. The stats just don't support it.
They
Jimmy
don't, but some of that is weird 49er fan bullshit. We love you until it's like, I was talking to a client in therapy about this. It's a distorted cognition. It's where, you make somebody perfect. They're God in your eyes. And then the second they do something wrong, you're the devil. Now, there's no in between.
You've
not recognizing that there's good with the bad.
And he had some good games. And Jimmy had, there weren't a lot of them. But there were a few games during the Jimmy G tenure which we wouldn't have won that game if Jimmy G wasn't the quarterback. His skill level won us a few games. I'm not going to sit here and say it was all him the entire time, because it wasn't. It was the scheming up of Shanahan, which is why I say he was a perfect fit for Shanahan's system, and so is Brock Purdy. But I don't necessarily denote either one of them as system quarterbacks. I think they're one of those guys where if Sean McVay, but then again, I can't even say that because Sean McVay's system is very similar to Kyle Shanahan's. So
because they came from the same place.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying there would be a lot of similarity there. So it would be unfair to say if Jimmy came out and succeeded in Sean McVay's system, it would kind of prove that he's not, just because the two systems are similar. But in general, I believe that there are certain archetypes of quarterbacks that are made for each system. And either you are that archetype and you fit well into that system, or your offensive coordinator changes the system to make the system meet what type of quarterback you are. But there's very few times in which a quarterback can go from any team to any team and just learn a new system and all of a sudden be great.
Well, because it's the smart thing to do to go out and either get one through free agency or draft a quarterback that fits your system
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
rather than trying to make them fit your
Fit your
system.
system. Or
Unless you're at the point of some teams are so at the point where we can rebuild the system around you. Right? But
right.
not all systems want to do that because sometimes the quarterback is the last piece that they need.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you don't want a quarterback that can't play in your system
Yep.
because it doesn't make any sense.
Yep. You want
Even
a
if
guy
it's
that's
not the
already-
best quarterback on the board overall, if it's not the best quarterback on the board to fit your
Yours.
system, it's not the best quarterback for you.
Now it's funny. Me and Suave were talking about this after the signing of Mac Jones last week.
Mac Jones?
By the 49ers
Sorry, I can't help it with that.
I know. As a backup to Purdy. I don't know if Purdy's the starter if Mac Jones was drafted where everybody thought he was going to be drafted by San Francisco in that draft. Because I think looking at his first season in New England, if he comes immediately into Shanahan's system, I think he has a similar run to Purdy. I think that I'm not saying he's super good. I'm saying he's a good fit for Shanahan's system.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones, that's why I never understood Trey Lance unless they were looking to change the system up to accommodate a mobile quarterback, which they never really did. So
That's also just not, except with the exception of like Colin Kaepernick, that's also just really not the type of quarterback that, generally speaking, San Francisco goes with.
Well, yeah, that San Francisco for sure. But Shanahan did. The way I saw it when he drafted Lance was I saw what he did with RG3, and RG3 was cooking until he got hurt.
Until Shanahan got him hurt. Shanahan didn't want him as a quarterback.
Yeah, but he ran up a system that made the guy rookie of the year while missing, 3 games out
That
of the year?
had nothing to do with Shanahan, though. Shanahan's
I think it had everything to do with Shanahan.
So I've had to hear this
Yeah.
a lot, okay? Because my dude's a Commanders fan.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
I have to hear this a lot, and I'm going to disagree with you because it was Snyder that wanted RG3.
Right.
Shanahan and them never wanted him.
Right.
And they played him in a way, especially when he got hurt that final time. It's their fault he got hurt.
I can say that they ran him into the ground, and from that perspective, it was their fault. But I think Shanahan was trying to adjust to the type of quarterback he was given. Like he was trying to, his system is not meant for a mobile quarterback again, which made me question the Trey Lance pick. But his system is not truly meant, not for that type of mobile quarterback. Let me say it like that. It is meant for a mobile quarterback, which is why Brock Purdy is, because a lot of people underestimate the mobility of Brock Purdy. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not going to break off a 60-yard run, but he can get out and get him some yards. Okay.
Right.
Like he's not going to go for 100 yards in a game, but that's right. Again, I never understood drafting Trey Lance over Mac Jones. Mac Jones better fit the role of a slightly mobile quarterback who has good accuracy and who can chuck the ball. I think when it came to Washington, the perspective that I see it from is exactly what you just said. Shanahan and them never wanted RG3. Dan Snyder forced the pick. So they made the best of what they could with this kid that they didn't really know how to build the system around him. They had a system for a quarterback that wasn't the quarterback that they had.
Then as a coach, you need to learn how to adapt. Because to me, that not
his adaptation unfortunately again, the system is not made for a mobile quarterback. It doesn't matter how you adapt it. The system
change your
itself
fucking
is not
system then.
Why? How? Like, why? Like, that's what I'm saying. Is like this kid, he wanted Kirk Cousins. Dan Snyder should have went out and got him Kirk Cousins. Like that, or should have kept Kirk Cousins instead of bringing in RG3. Like, because Kirk Cousins was made for that system. Kirk Cousins could have won Washington some football games, potentially even some playoff games. You know, and so I don't know. Like I said, I think from the sense of them running into the ground, I agree that it was their fault he got hurt. But I also think they were just trying to make the best of a very, very bad situation. Dan Schneider forced it with a kid who had no business playing in Shanahan's system at all. And I see it as a positive for Shanahan that RG3 was able to perform as well as he was, being that system was not, it was a hybrid system that was just made for the moment. When Shanahan got his quarterback, his type of quarterback, the Jimmy G, the Brock Purdy's and such, he wins. And yeah, he hasn't won a big one, but eventually he'll break through that. And he'll win a Super Bowl. It may not be with San Francisco, but he'll eventually break through that.
He might as a quarterback coach.
I think he will as a head coach. The skills there. He to be honest with you, if not for bad defensive plays, he should have won the 2 Super Bowls against the Chiefs. And I can't hold him accountable for the defense playing like shit at times.
Well, you can. At the end of the day, it's still on the coach. Everything is still on the coach.
I think that I said this to you before. When it comes to that particular situation with Shanahan did his job. The offense walked off the field with a lead. So that's as far as you can take it. After that, it's on the defense to hold the other team. And they let Kansas City drive all the way down the field and score a touchdown. So
but it's still on the offense that if our defense still can't do that, we have to continue to score.
But there was no option. I'm talking about in overtime. There was no option to score. We kicked the field goal. We got the lead. It was on the defense to stop them. The defense let Kansas City drive down and score a touchdown and win the game. That's not on Shanahan. He did every bit of his job. That's on the defense. That's
the one time you needed your defense to actually show up, the best defense, and where the fuck were they?
And now we know why Nick Sorensen doesn't have a job and Steve Wilkes doesn't have a job anymore.
There we go.
And why Robert Saleh was brought back as the highest paid coordinator in the game.
After being a head coach, you kind of have to pay the man more than...
True. Some other things that went on around the league. Najee Harris landed with the Chargers. Interesting pickup for them. Chicago decided to build a line around, we talked about that a little earlier, right before free agency, build a line around Caleb Williams, and they got themselves some maulers.
We call that protecting your investment.
Yes, it's about time they learn to do it. The Lions really didn't make many moves, and neither did the Cowboys. But
they didn't really need to.
Yeah, true. They were just waiting for Aiden Hutchinson to come back, huh? But they did lose Zadarius Smith. They lost a couple of guys in free agency. Not as many as the 49ers lost. Nobody lost as many as the 49ers lost. But Joey Bosa decided to say fuck playing with his brother. No, I think Joey Bosa just, with the exodus of players being released from San Francisco, he was like, all right, I don't know what y'all are going to be next year. So, yeah, let's put this off for another year. Because if you know,
the point he's at in his career,
right,
it was a wise choice. Because honestly, and I hate to say it, but, well, I mean, they're on, I hate to say it, I feel like Buffalo was going to have a greater chance.
I will say this. Right now, on paper, yes, Buffalo looks like it has a much better chance to go. Now, does that mean that's what's going to happen when we play the games starting in September? Who knows? But right now, yeah, I can agree with that. Right now, Buffalo's definitely...
because for all we know, freaking Josh Allen could go down in training camp. Shit. Okay, I mean, anything.
Guys after they sign big contracts have a tendency to get hurt.
Well, not just that, but they also have a tendency to have a complete shit fucking year. Eli Manning, anyone?
Yep. Shit.
Dak Prescott, anyone? Deshaun Watson, anyone?
All right,
I could go on.
Before we get to that Bronny subject, we got one more thing NFL, and that was, did you see the back and forth between DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons?
No.
Okay, DeMarcus Lawrence, for those of you who don't know, just signed a 3-year deal in Seattle. He left the Cowboys as a free agent and went to Seattle, right? When talking to a Seattle beat reporter about the move, he said, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, basically, yeah, man, we wasn't ever going to win a title over there anyway with the way things being done over there, so... Micah Parsons then proceeds to tweet at him, this is what jealousy and bitterness looks like after you've been let go. And DeMarcus Lawrence basically responds to him and says, "Bro, you know I'm right. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, whatever, dude. Like, ain't no hate.
You were saying the same thing in the fucking locker room 2 months ago, okay? Shut the fuck up.
You ain't winning no goddamn title in Dallas, bro. Let it go." But yeah, that shit had me dying, man. Because the bottom line is, like, no offense. I'm not, like, yes, as a 49ers fan, I take a lot of pride, and it's a lot of fun to mock
Micah
Dallas.
Parsons sounds about as delusional as their fucking fans.
Pretty much. But, like, there's two things. People say that you are a horrible human being if you prey on others' downfall. I don't prey on the Dallas Cowboys' downfall. I don't. Here's the thing about it. After 10 consecutive years of hearing their fans say, "This is our year," and listening to them all fucking season long talk about, "This is our year, we about to win it all, blah, 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 fucking blah." And every year they fall off. Look, man.
You know who that sounds a lot like to Raiders fans? You know who that sounds a lot like? Quest for Six. I'm just saying.
The Quest for Six.
Hold on. There's differences because you guys have actually made it to the Super Bowl. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that you're in the same category. Yes. I'm saying that is the same thing that Raiders fans have heard from Niners fans, but y'all have at least managed to get farther.
Right. Now, I'll say it like this. At least the
Dak
Niners
can't
fans
get
that I
out the
deal
fucking can't get much past the wild card game.
I'll use the stretch from 2001 to 2005 with the 49ers, in which they were garbage. They picked number 1 in the 2005 draft. That's when they got Alex Smith.
And that's when Aaron Rodgers got all super butt hurt.
Yep. And
that's the point in life that hurt him.
With 2001.
Show me on the doll.
Where the 49ers are. Anyway, 2001, 2002, the Niners had just had their like 20-something year stretch of winning at least 10 games a year snapped. They had been a playoff team for like 15 straight years. I was going into that next season saying to myself, "Yeah, dude, we're at least gonna win 10 games." I think they won like 9 that year. The next year was like, okay, well, I hope we win 10 games. Like, I'm hoping we make the playoffs. I think they won 7 that year. Or no, I think they won 2 that year under Dennis
We're going
Erickson.
in the wrong direction at this point.
And I'm like, so after the Erickson year, oh no, that was 04 when Erickson, and because 05 is when we got Alex Smith. By that year, I went into that season saying, nah, man, like, I'm not even expecting us to win more than a couple of games. Like, there was a progressive humbling that came with every bad season that doesn't seem to be there with Cowboy fans.
But you're I have to say though, okay, you're a little bit different than a lot of other 49ers fans. Okay? You have logic and reasoning when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
Okay, not all of them do.
I will agree with that. But that's
there
every
are
fan
some
base.
who they could be straight trash and got like all of their team has been replaced, and they're still going to be like, "This is our year." Yeah.
Like, trust me.
Okay.
And like I said, I'll put it to you like this.
The same thing for Raiders fans. I'm not going to say it's just Niners fans.
I was going to say because there was a Carolina Panthers fan that went into last year thinking,
Jacksonville
fan,
Jaguars. This is our year.
So no, but no, I get what you're saying. Like, and it just, but with Cowboys fans, to me, it's a special thing. Not to say that there's not, we established, there's fans like that. For Cowboys fans, because it seems to be a good portion of the fan base, and this has been 30 years running damn near that they haven't even reached the conference championship. At what point does humble kick in? Like at what point does that humbleness kick in? Because you would think after 3 generations. Jerry Jones
fires Dak Prescott and moves the fuck along.
We said the same thing about Tony Romo before they moved on to Dak Prescott. We said the same thing.
Okay, so who's next in line? Who's the next Dak? Can we just fast forward this to them at this point?
So, well, it's not going to be Cooper Rush because he just signed as a backup in Baltimore. But I'll say this. So, getting to the final subject, I teased it earlier about Bronny James, a guy that I was talking to in the NBA group was talking about people that Bronny James's numbers of having or averaging 0.2 points a game, 0.3 rebounds, and 0.6 assists on like 26% shooting at the NBA level. That nobody ever expects any other 55th pick to do anything like that. Like they all turn in similar numbers. And I have to say, and I have to prove this wrong by this. Trace Jackson Davis, Golden State Warriors player. The kid was drafted 57th 2 years ago. Two spots later than Bronny. In his rookie year, the kid averaged like 4 points. At the NBA level, the kid averaged like, I want to say 4 to 6 points a game, like 4 or 5 rebounds a game, and 1 or 2 assists. This current year, a gentleman by the name of Quentin Post that I've talked a lot about.
And Bronny James couldn't even score 5 points in the G League for God knows how long.
Like he's averaging 20
That's
a game
where
now in
you
the G
should
League.
be blowing them out of the water if you
Exactly.
have anything in you.
Period. He's been down there long enough. He's averaging 20 a game now. So he's getting used to the G League, but he's not ready for the NBA. And Stephen A. was 100% correct when he said this. I use another example of the gentleman that I've spoken of a couple of times on the show, Quentin Post. He was drafted in the second round by the Warriors this year. He's averaging like 7 points a game. Like he's playing quality minutes. He's the stretch four that they needed. These are both guys that were drafted around Bronny. And they're having successful careers because they were ready to come to the NBA when they were drafted.
Because they were legitimate draft picks
they weren't
at
being
that number.
Exactly. They weren't being forced into the league by their father. And that's the bottom line. I'm not saying Bronny didn't want to come. I've said this statement, and I'm going to keep saying it, and people can kiss my ass and they can get as mad as they want, and they can say I don't know what I'm talking about. If Bronny James's name is Bronny Jenkins, he is told to stay at USC for at least another 2 years to develop his basketball skill before he goes to enter the draft. He is never told to enter the draft.
He's also not going to the G League. He's also not getting drafted at that point. At best, he's going to the European League. He's playing overseas. Period. Because the other draft picks at that number, regardless of what they're doing today, earned that draft pick number. Period.
They worked their asses off at the college level to get it.
And they had a resume behind them to be drafted.
So it's just like, it's not that people aren't hating on Bronny when they say these type of things. They're looking at what the small sample size of NBA games that he played and said, and they didn't, just like Stephen A. said, I'll say it the same way he did. They're not saying Bronny James can't ever play at the pro level. They're not saying Bronny James will never play in the NBA. What they're saying is that mother is not ready to play right now. And that's why, and even the Lakers agree, hence why his ass is playing in the G League right now. Because he's not ready to contribute at the NBA level right now. So let's just
And that was a fucked up thing to do to your son.
It was.
Because you knew in that moment, it was more about you than it was about your son. It was about what you wanted, what you thought. Fuck what was best for your son.
Another notch in Dad's belt.
All of this is on you. His struggles right now are on you. The heat that's going around isn't on him. That's directed at you.
Yep. 100%.
You fucked up. Own it.
Yep.
Take some accountability. I would have so much respect for him if he came out and just was like, I got lost in the sauce and I wasn't at the right time for the right person.
Right.
Right?
I was worried about things I shouldn't
got all
have been.
wrapped up in it. This is where we're at.
Yep. There we go. And so we're kind of getting choppy there. So I'm gonna go on ahead and
fuck LeBron.
Yeah, she gave it to us. Didn't even have to ask for it. Like it's bottom line is.
I mean, it feels like a natural progression to that.
I'll say,
you know?
and
go sit at home with your groin injury.
As two of my favorite people used to always say, Jamel Hill and Michael Smith, numbers never lie. And the numbers are telling the story on Bronny James. The kid ain't ready. Let him play in the G League for the rest of this year. if you dare put him on that playoff roster, man, I'm telling you. Like, oh. Anyway, we'll get into that. Join us next week as we're going to talk more Dubs. We're going to talk more NFL free agency as it continues on and what the hell the 49ers are doing. And we'll talk more hot topics in sports. So y'all keep tuning in. This has been The Classroom featuring that lady over there, Miss OMalley.
What's up?
And we will see you guys next week. Thanks to all that joined us on Twitch and on YouTube. And yeah, check out the website, 2KK2network.com. Peace. There we go.